Well, there's a lot of things that she does really well, and I think there's a lot of things that make her opponents feel very uncomfortable. One of the things that she can't control is that she's a left-hander, and so there's always something about playing a left-hander that you get pulled out of the court a little bit differently. She can, with her forehand cross court, her forehand is really good, but I think her backhand is better. Her backhand is a little bit more of an aggressive.
Here's a polished rewrite. Krejcikova has put everyone on notice, and she made a bold, unambiguous statement about Alex Eala. She came out and flat out declared that Eala possesses the best technique in the entire WTA. Not among the promising youngsters. Not among the rising stars. The entire tour. And she went further, saying that Eala has a unique ability to make her opponents feel deeply uncomfortable. Not just through power, but through the way she moves, constructs points, and systematically dismantles a game plan from the very first ball. And Krejcikova didn't stop at a general endorsement. She got specific. She pointed to the fact that Eala is a natural left-hander, and that single detail, she argued, makes it extraordinarily difficult for opponents to read her ball movement. The court opens up differently. The angles shift in ways that right-handed players simply don't train for. And crucially, Eala weaponizes her backhand in an offensive capacity that is nearly unmatched on the tour, using it not as a defensive reset, but as her single most lethal weapon against virtually every opponent she faces. Then Krejcikova broke down the actual mechanics, with the precision of someone who has competed at the very highest level of the sport. She explained that Eala uses her backhand to push opponents behind the baseline, forcing them deep, stealing their time and compressing their options. The opponent, scrambling to respond, reaches for their own backhand. And the moment they do, the entire court opens up. Eala reads it instantly, drives the next ball into the vacated space, and suddenly her opponent is chasing, off balance, out of position, and running out of answers. Krejcikova was emphatic. This is not a coincidence. This is a repeatable system. A tactical blueprint that, right now, no one on the tour has found a reliable way to neutralize. But the praise didn't end with technique. Krejcikova went all in. She declared that Eala has the stamina and the footwork to control the flow of a match from the opening game to the final point, and that she has demonstrated this in the most demanding matchups imaginable. Her performance against Iga Swiatek at the Miami Open was cited as Exhibit A. Not only is her physicality and youth giving her the endurance to make those explosive court-covering runs, but she has also grown mentally to a level where she can handle opponents of the caliber of Swiatek and Sabalenka. Players who don't just test your tennis. They test everything you are as a competitor. Coming from Barbara Krejcikova, a Grand Slam singles and doubles champion who has seen and beaten the best in the world, this is not casual praise. This is a formal recognition that something genuinely special is happening.
Work is really good. She has great stamina. She can play, we've seen her, was it Iga last year where she played a really good match, and she's starting to feel how old is she now? 19?
20, I believe.
20. Mm-hmm. She's still very young, but we see the mental growth as well.
But Clijsters didn't stop there either. She took a step back from the tactical and acknowledged something deeper. The discipline and sacrifice behind the player the world is now watching. She gave direct credit to the years Eala has invested at the Rafa Nadal Academy, describing it as one of the most demanding developmental environments in the sport. That kind of daily pressure, she argued, doesn't just sharpen your technique, shapes your character. It builds the internal architecture that separates players who peak early from players who keep climbing. Clijsters was clear. The relentless commitment Eala has shown throughout her entire career is not a side note to her success. It is the reason for it. But then Clijsters made something else very clear, and it may be the most important point she made throughout the entire conversation. Even now, at the height of her powers, playing some of the best tennis of her career and turning heads across the entire tour, Eala still needs to be protected. By her team. By the people closest to her. By everyone in her corner.
Work, you are respectful, you are, and she's been around that environment, and I think there's no coincidence that she has the results that she has. But I think it's going to be very important for her to be a little bit protected from the craziness that comes with that.
Here's the polished rewrite. And when all was said and done, Clijsters made one thing absolutely clear above everything else. The defining weapon in Eala's arsenal, the quality that makes her so difficult to predict and even harder to answer from the other side of the net, is her immediate transition from a defensive, back foot position to a fully offensive foothold. In a single step, in a fraction of a second, she flips the dynamic of a rally. What looks like a moment of vulnerability becomes a launching pad for attack. And at just 20 years old, she executes this with a technical mastery that most players spend an entire career trying to develop. That presence on the court, Clijsters affirmed, is real. It is earned. And it is not going anywhere. But here is where the story gets even bigger. Because it is not only the legends of women's tennis who are speaking up for Alex Eala. The greatest men's player of all time has also stepped forward. And he went all in. Novak Djokovic declared Alex Eala the greatest tennis player the Philippines has ever produced. He said she deserves every single bit of respect and recognition this sport can possibly offer. Full stop. But Djokovic didn't limit his comments to what happens between the lines. He went further, directly addressing the way her scheduling and court assignments have been managed at various tournaments, making it explicitly clear that he believes the situation around her has not always reflected her true status, her drawing power, or her standing as a genuine global attraction. When Novak Djokovic says something like that, the tennis world doesn't just take notice. It is forced to respond.
Alex Eala, that's been a talk, and which is understandable. There's some players coming from respective countries, like she's coming from Philippines, which is now a big deal. She's been the biggest ever, tennis player from that country, which is a big country, and there's big interest. So things like that happen. I mean, it's you could argue that it was, maybe a poor schedule, and maybe they could schedule him on a bigger court. Yeah.
Here's the polished rewrite. But the story doesn't stop with legends and analysts. Because now the players themselves are jumping in. And what they're saying is just as powerful. Jessica Pegula, one of the most experienced and respected competitors on the WTA Tour, came forward with her own first-hand account of what she witnessed when she faced Eala at the Miami Open. And what she described was nothing short of remarkable. The moment she walked into that venue, she felt it immediately. The energy was electric. The crowd was enormous, passionate, and impossibly loud. Completely locked in on every single point, every single rally, every single moment. Pegula's word for it was simple and unfiltered. Insane. And she meant every word of that in the best possible way. She wasn't there to complain. She wasn't rattled or resentful. She was marveling. Standing inside that atmosphere and recognizing in real time that she was witnessing something genuinely rare. Then Pegula got specific. She pointed out that whether it was Miami, the Australian Open, or Dubai, Eala has consistently drawn the biggest crowd support of any player on the entire tour. People don't just show up for her. They travel for her. They wait in lines that stretch far beyond anything a normal match would generate, just for the chance to be inside the stadium and watch her play. That kind of magnetism is extraordinarily rare in this sport. The kind that can't be manufactured, can't be marketed into existence, and can't be faked. And here is Alex Eala, at 20 years old, still in the early chapters of her career, already delivering it. Not through a carefully engineered brand campaign. Not through social media strategy or corporate backing. Through nothing but the sheer force of her talent, her personality, and the undeniable power of her story. That's what makes this different. That's what makes this special.
Amazing. I mean, I played her when she kind of broke out last year in Miami, and I'm from there, and the whole crowd was against me, and I was like, what on earth is going on? Like, where do these people come from? And then week after week, as she has done well and established herself as a really good player on tour, they all come out to support her. And so I think we saw that in Australia when it was kind of overcrowded. They put her on too small of a court. We saw it here. You can hear it from the hotel. You can hear the crowd roaring, especially at night. So it's incredible.
Here's the polished rewrite. Clijsters called her technique the best in the WTA. And she was not speaking in abstractions. She was pointing to something real. Something visible. Something that anyone who has watched Eala compete over the past 12 months has witnessed with their own eyes. And the evidence is right there. last year's Miami Open, where Eala stepped onto the court against some of the biggest names in the game and performed with a maturity and a technical precision that left the entire tour talking. Then Dubai. Then Abu Dhabi. Tournament after tournament, she has continued to build, proving beyond any reasonable doubt that what we are watching is not a flash of inspired form, but a sustained, compounding reality. Clijsters is not guessing. She is not projecting onto a promising youngster and hoping for the best. She is looking at a growing body of evidence, match by match, round by round, and declaring plainly what she sees. Player whose technique is, right now, the finest on the entire tour. And she is not alone. Djokovic called Eala the greatest player the Philippines has ever produced, and demanded she be given the stage her drawing power genuinely deserves. Pegula stepped forward and described the atmosphere surrounding her as something that left a seasoned, world-class professional completely astonished. The crowds keep coming. The legends keep talking. And Alex Eala keeps walking onto the court and playing tennis that makes every single word of it feel not just justified, but completely, perfectly inevitable. Now we want to hear from you. Clijsters has declared Eala possesses the best technique in the WTA. Djokovic has called her the greatest the Philippines has ever produced. And Pegula said the atmosphere around her was unlike anything she had experienced before. So, do you agree? Is Eala's backhand the single most dangerous weapon in the women's game right now? And how far does this go? Drop everything you think in the comments below. We want to know exactly where you stand.